Coming up on today's Airborne, a controller deemed responsible for a 2009 New York mid-air accident is back on duty. Sikorsky wins a U.S. Navy contract to replace the Marine One helicopter fleet, and the FAA UAV ban is being challenged by the media. Welcome to Airborne on Aero-TV. I'm Ashley Hale. The air traffic controller, who was found responsible for a mid-air collision between an airplane and a sightseeing helicopter in New York in 2009, has been transferred to Virginia and returned to duty. An NTSB investigation found that the controller was on his cell phone while on duty, engaged in a personal conversation, and he missed an incorrect frequency change readback from the pilot of the fixed-winged airplane. When another controller needed to warn pilot Steven Altman of the helicopter traffic, he was unable to do so because he was on the wrong frequency. After being placed on paid suspension, the controller is back on the job. Pilot Steve Altman's widow told the paper that, quote, "He should have been fired, he should have been prosecuted, and he should have gone to jail," end quote. An FAA spokeswoman said that air traffic controllers have the, quote, "same due process rights as other federal employees and are also covered by the provisions of the National Air Traffic Controllers Association contract," end quote. The U.S. Navy announced that Sikorsky has been selected to build the next fleet of Marine One helicopters for the Office of the President. The company said in a news release that with the selection comes a contract to modify, test, and deliver 6 FAA-certified S-92 helicopters and 2 trainer simulators to the U.S. Marine Corps, covering a period of performance into late 2020. The contract is the initial step to providing, by 2023, a presidential helicopter replacement fleet totaling 21 operational aircraft. Sikorsky President Mick Mauer said, quote, "We are honored by this news and the vote of confidence in the Sikorsky team and the proven S-92 platform. For 57 years, our company has been trusted with the critical responsibility of building and supporting a safe and reliable helicopter fleet for the President of the United States," end quote. You're watching Airborne. We'll be back after these messages with more news and our feature of the day.
ADS-B will be mandatory for most aircraft by 2020 in the United States, but you can benefit from ADS-B today with the Bendix King KT-74 Mode S transponder. The KT-74 meets the global mandates for ADS-B out when attached to a suitable WAAS GPS. Over the past 2 decades, no resource has compiled as much expert-valued information about the sport plane world than the Sport Plane Resource Guide. Over 1,500 pages, hundreds of aircraft, dozens of how-tos and directories. All this and more will be coming to the sport aviation world soon with the new, all-electronic and updatable Sport Plane Resource Guide for your iPad, iPhone, Kindle, tablet, PC, or other electronic devices. Get your order in now. www.sportplane.com.
Welcome back. If you'd like to support Airborne, Aero-TV, our website, or our podcast, send an email to jim@aero-news.net. After television stations proudly announced their coverage of recent storm damage was being brought to you by a UAV, we knew it would be just a short amount of time before the first started to fly. A group of journalism organizations have filed a brief with the NTSB challenging the FAA's ban on the use of UAVs in support of aerial photographer Raphael Pirker. The media organizations say the FAA simply does not understand how UAVs are being used in a news-gathering capacity. The brief states, quote, "The FAA's position is untenable as it rests on a fundamental misunderstanding about journalism. News gathering is not a business purpose, it's a First Amendment right," end quote. The group filing the brief included such notables as the Associated Press, Cox Media, the National Press Club, the Washington Post, the New York Times, Scripps Media Incorporated, and several others. It's Friday at last, and that means for ANN's editor-in-chief to check in with his weekly Barnstorming commentary. This week, Jim talks about the press reporting on the Eddie Andrini accident. He says we've come to expect inaccuracies, but the lack of respect is shameful. Here's this week's Barnstorming.
Thanks, Ashley, and hi, folks. Well, heavy heart on this one. We lost a great man this week. A fellow by the name of Eddie Andrini, the tender young age of 77, was lost during an air show doing what he loved, flying. He was lost in the super steerman doing an inverted ribbon cut, a maneuver inaccurately described in the press as flying low with a knife on the airplane to cut the ribbon. I don't know where the hell they got it, but it was ridiculous. And an extraordinary man with an extraordinary life was inaccurately portrayed by a bunch of amateurish morons who really don't understand aviation and made no attempt. I'm thoroughly disgusted by some of the headlines that I saw in the general media about the Eddie Andrini accident. Examples like elderly stunt pilot dies in airshow crash or show pilot dies during stunt. Elderly? Stunt? Who are you kidding? These were precision maneuvers. No stunts were involved. And I can tell you that the airshow industry is sick and tired of being inaccurately portrayed by editorial morons. And as for elderly, yeah, Eddie was 77 years old. But you and I, well, we should be so elderly. This is a guy who was living life large and joyfully and extraordinarily. Elderly was an inaccurate term. I've known Eddie for decades. I aspire greatly to be as elderly as he did someday in my life. Men like Eddie deserved respect, if not accuracy, when described. And while I've lambasted a number of amateur descriptions found in the media time after time, I await a time when the rest of the industry, the aviation industry, rises up and fights these gross mischaracterizations with a united voice. Eddie deserves better. So do we. For the Aero-News Network, Airborne, and Aero-TV, I'm Jim Campbell.
A crowd of nearly 400 people, including dignitaries, customers, vendors, and employees, gathered in Cedar City, Utah on Tuesday to celebrate the groundbreaking for Cyberjet Aircraft's 30,000 square feet completion and delivery center. Even Cyberjet's most celebrated customer, actor Morgan Freeman, was on hand to participate in the celebration. Situated on the Cedar City Regional Airport in southwestern Utah and adjacent to the headquarters of Cyberjet's parent company, MSC Aerospace, the completion center will serve as Cyberjet's primary focal point for customer interface, including marketing, sales, customer service, pilot training, and aircraft delivery. With an inviting customer hosting center complementing a technologically advanced production floor, the center provides the optimum space for customers to develop their individualized SJ-30s and to observe the final production stages of their aircraft. Airborne is brought to you by some of the best sponsors in the aviation business. We'll be right back with more news.
Since its inception, Redbird Flight Simulations has been dedicated to developing new training technologies and processes in an ongoing effort to make aviation safer, more affordable, and more accessible. Consider Redbird's flagship flight training device, the FMX, a superior quality, full-motion, feature-rich advanced aviation training device priced with real-world flight training organizations in mind. With standard features that are anything but standard, such as wraparound visuals, a fully enclosed cockpit, quick change configurations, scenario-based training compatibility, and of course, an electric motion platform, the FMX serves up a level of realism that is simply unavailable in other training devices on the market. For more information on Redbird flight simulations, the Redbird FMX, and Redbird's entire line of flight training devices, visit www.redbirdflightsimulations.com.
Welcome back. A federal judge will prevent United Launch Alliance from purchasing rocket engines from Russia, following a protest launched by SpaceX of a no-bid contract that was awarded to the Boeing-Lockheed Martin joint venture by the U.S. Air Force. SpaceX CEO Elon Musk has filed a lawsuit in federal court saying the contract should have been put out for a competitive bid. In the suit, Musk and SpaceX said the purchase of Russian-built rocket cores for U.S. launches could be a violation of recent sanctions put in place against Russia. The Air Force has awarded a sole source contract to ULA for 36 rocket cores for upcoming missions. The deal is estimated to be worth about $70 billion over the next 16 years. A trio of base jumpers who climbed to the top of the unfinished Freedom Tower at the World Trade Center site and then parachuted off the building got into a lot of trouble. But according to a court document filed on their behalf, they did the city a public service. The jumpers said they encountered no security as they went through the fence and climbed to the top of the building. The organization, known as 9/11 Parents and Families of Firefighters and WTC Victims, wrote, quote, "There is a huge problem at the WTC site, and no lessons were learned from the nearly 3,000 people who perished on 9/11, end quote. A defense fund has been established for the base jumpers. Well, that's our program. Remember to get comprehensive, real-time, 24/7 coverage of the latest aviation and aerospace stories at aero-news.net. Remember, Airborne is streamed 3 times a week and is always online. Join us every Monday, Wednesday, and Friday for a new episode. I'm Ashley Hale. Thanks for watching.